up, everybody? We're going to try to do this. The bird is in the background, and heads up, he's been chatty today. So, I don't know. We'll try to do this, but you may hear him in the background. There he is. You say hello? Say hi? Oh, now he's camera shy, of course. Excuse me. I was just sitting down to my lunch, and as I was, it's the most random assortment of foods that I think. Sometimes I just put weird things together, and most of the time it turns out to be pretty good. This is actually and let me turn it around so I can show you, because it's certainly not pretty. But what we have here is tuna, a tuna steak rather. Some barbecue sauce, spaghetti squash, Beyond Beef crumbles, which is like it's a vegetable protein that they make to look like ground beef. And then I've got some Monterey Jack cheese in there. So that's kind of what we got going on today. And I'll turn you guys back around now. Like I said, it's a random assortment of foods, but it's delicious, and it's high protein. Carbs are moderate, even though I'm not really watching carbs. But it's going to hit the spot. It's going to fill me up. It's very filling. And this is like 420 calories. Maybe I'll run the macros on it and post that in a minute. But what I wanted to talk about, because as I was putting this together, it dawned on me that, one of the reasons that we rely on these fad diets, and one of the reasons why we might rely on these supplements that you can buy, Thrive is a big one right now, and I'm not hating on Thrive, so please don't take it that way. I do think that there's enough scientific evidence to support that, like the supplements and things like that you take by mouth can be a good addition to your nutrition, because just in general, we don't typically get enough nutrition. I'm talking about your micronutrients, your vitamins and your minerals, because if we're eating a relatively heavily packaged processed diet, most of the time we're probably void in a lot of the good stuff that we need. So that can be beneficial, can help you out as far as getting some of those things into your diet. But largely, we should really strive to get those things from our diet if we can. And one of the reasons why fad diets and supplement-driven diet plans suck so bad, in my opinion, is that they teach you nothing about nutrition. We will oftentimes... I thought I heard the dog. Yes, I hear you. I hear you. You can hear him too. Most of the time we jump on one of those plans, a fad diet, because we're at a point that we're like, okay, enough is enough. I got to do something. I got to jump start. I got the gun to go off to get this race going. I have got to make some changes. And so out of desperation, we spend a ton of cash and we invest in something, a product, because we want to see some immediate changes, and we think that that's going to be the silver bullet, that's going to be the key, that's going to be whatever it is that's going to magically transform us. And sure, we may be dieting and exercising along with it, but what we've not done is the serious work to really get down, drill down, and try to understand this thing called nutrition. Because if you're relying on a supplement or a fad diet to help you create or catapult you to your goal, what's going to happen when you stop using that product? Most of the time when that product is going to be really helpful, or that fad diet is going to be really helpful, that supplement is going to be really helpful to help us reach our goal. But what happens when we stop? The money runs out. We can't purchase that anymore. Money's tight, so that's the easiest first thing to go. What's going to happen? We're typically going to find ourselves right back at the beginning where we were, because we learned nothing during that process. If I could encourage anybody to do anything, if they're in a journey to transform their body, it would be to invest in some education for yourself about food. That means that you're looking at nutrition labels, you're looking at calorie counts, you're really doing the work to do your homework and understand what this thing is about nutrition, so that you can put together a weird, random assortment of food that's going to fill you up, but it's also going to hit the mark of what you need. And trust. I understand that it's complicated. I understand that at first it's overwhelming because there's so many foods that we can eat and there's so many things that we can put in our diet to help us accomplish our goal. And there's so much noise out there about why this supplement is better than this supplement. But understand that this stuff takes time. And once you understand this stuff, once you really get it, you can be in the kitchen like Emeril Lagasse putting together a delicious meal that's not going to set you back, because once you understand how all these things play together, you can play. You can get in there and you can be creative, and that's how you really learn how to cook. You know, you can just be in there throwing a bunch of crap in a pot and eat it, and it's delicious. And people are like, "You're an amazing cook." And you're like, "I know, look at me." But it takes time to get there. And so how do we get there? We pump the brakes on all of our desperation. We pump the brakes on feeling like that we have to invest a ton of money on a plan or a program or a supplement. We pump the brakes on all that stuff and we say enough is enough, we're not doing that anymore. And we start to track every little thing that's in our mouth. And we don't just plug it into MyFitnessPal and track it that way. We actually turn the label over and we look at it and we go, okay, what am I eating? What is this? Okay, if it's broccoli. Broccoli is a vegetable. Okay, well, let's look at what does the nutrition label say about that. It's probably going to have carbs, probably going to have a little bit of protein, because surprise, surprise, vegetables have protein. I know, a little mind-blowing. Probably going to have some fiber, probably not going to have a lot of fat, because we're looking at a vegetable, right? Well, over time, what's going to happen is when we begin to look at all these nutrition labels and we take each food that we are preparing to eat and putting into our body, we're going to take that information and it's going to be tucked away into our brain, and our brain is going to begin to, over time, be able to look at a food and go, okay, I know that in any given day I need fat, protein, and carbohydrate, fiber. I need these things in my diet. And so when I put a balanced meal together, I need to make sure that I've got a good collection of all of those things. I want to make sure I've got good protein. I want to make sure I've got some fat in my diet. I want to make sure I've got good carbohydrates, because let me say it again, carbohydrates are not bad. They are your friends. And I'm overall, I'm going to be looking at total calories to make sure that the foods that I'm eating are fitting. It's just like a puzzle, but you got to figure out how to put that puzzle together so that every single time you can put all that stuff together to create these meals and create your own plan that's going to work for you long term, so that you can get off the struggle bus and stop being so frustrated. Fad diets suck because they don't teach us anything. If we're just, rocking along, I think about my kids. I want my kids, even though it's frustrating when they're kids, when I tell them to do something, I want them to ask me, why am I asking them to do it? Because the logic behind that is they're going to become critical thinkers to then understand the cause and effect and the consequence in relationships. That if they do this, this is going to happen. And so we have to do the same thing with ourselves. We have to become critical thinkers for diets, the food, the nutrition that we're eating, so that we can put this stuff together, put it into practice, and we can quit struggling so much. I think one of the reasons why as a nation we struggle so much is because we know nothing about nutrition because we haven't spent the time. I am just as guilty as the next person as to how easy it is to rip the package open and just go to eating hand to mouth. We have busy schedules. But we also got self that we got to take care of, and we've got one life to live. We got one body. This is the body you have to live in. Yours is the body that you have to live in. And so why not? Yes, it's going to take time up front. Yes, it's probably going to be overwhelming. But understand that the more often that you do this, all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, wait a minute. That makes sense. And you're going to begin to look at food in a very different way. You're going to look at food and be able to appropriately categorize it in the way that it needs to be, so that when you build your meals, you've got protein, carbs, and fat. So this meal that I put together, I knew to look in my refrigerator. I was like, okay, what vegetables do I have? I have spaghetti squash. Fantastic. That's a good base. Okay, what else? What do I have for protein? Oh, I've got some tuna steaks. Well, let me get those out. That's an excellent protein. Then I said, oh, I've got some extra protein. I've got some that Beyond Beefy crumble, and that's got some vegetable protein in it as well. I'm going to add that in there because that's got some micronutrients in it. And okay, what am I going to do for fat? Because tuna is a relatively low-fat seafood option. It's very lean. Spaghetti squash has no fat in it. And I thought to myself, okay, so I need a fat source. Okay, Great, I've got cheese, and Monterey Jack cheese is one of your lower calorie things, and I had some little slices of it. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get some of those out and throw that in there, and then cook that stuff up, and voila, I've got a meal. You know, that's how you do this. But I didn't arrive at this point in time where I'm able to just throw a meal together like that, to be able to look and inventory my refrigerator real quick when I'm hungry and say, okay, what are we going to cook? What's going to happen? Because you have to spend the work, you have to spend the time doing the work on the front end so that you can then get to this point. So right now, if you're on a fad diet, I want you to ask yourself, and a fad diet, I would say, you know, how do we spot a fad diet? A fad diet is pretty much anything that we're not going to be able to do consistently and sustain for the rest of our lives. It's a fad diet is one that everybody's doing right now, usually, or it's one that gained massive popularity because it went viral. A fad diet is one that usually is operating by an extreme protocol, in that we must do something pretty extreme, like cut out a macronutrient group. The Atkins diet, for example, that is a fad diet. They might loosely quote some scientific evidence that they will do this or that to help you accomplish your goals. But what they don't do is they don't drill down and teach you about nutrition. We live in an abundance of technology. We have access to all the information that we would possibly want. I could be in the middle of the grocery store and I can Google articles on whatever food that I'm looking at and how that might be beneficial for my health while I'm standing there with it. You know, it's pretty incredible. There's also lots and lots and lots of information out there about how to build meal plans and how to, you know, how do you do this, but it's out there. You don't have to have a degree to do this stuff, but it does take time. You know, I didn't go to school for nutrition. I had a little bit of nutrition education in college, but that's not what I went to school for. I just am personally very passionate and interested in nutrition and how that can help you accomplish your goals, because truly you could exercise to your little heart's content and you are not going to move the needle until you get to drill down and really get the diet right. Because you ask anybody who finally did drill down and get the diet right, and that is when they began to make progress. So it's not hard, it's just overwhelming, and you got to do the work. So do the work. Do the work is what I'm saying. Learn about nutrition. And if you're confused, let me help you. Again, I'm your girl. I'm here to help you. But you got to reach out. You got to tell me, because I can't just know. But I'm just going to start putting stuff out here. So anyway, thanks so much for joining in. If you were able to catch it today, I know I just kind of jump on random times, but I always make the videos available so you guys can watch it after the fact, or in the past, you know, like if you're in the future and you're like, let me just watch one of Kelly's videos. They're great at making the time pass when you're on the cardio, when you're doing like Stairmaster or treadmill. So anyway, I'm going to finish my lunch and get to work, and that's it. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Keep it classy.